Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about Clara, Jiangman, and Dhalia, and their resonances as well. So I mean, that's just basically the main topic of the day. So we're going to start off with Clara. Now obviously, most of you guys probably would not have multiple copies of Clara. Most of you guys wouldn't even have a single Clara to begin with. But with that said, I still feel like it is quite relevant to talk about her resonance because every other event or every other patch update that we have, we will be getting the side story event, which would then also bring us the mystery trader who would give us free resonance as well. And I'm pretty sure that after this new update, there is going to be a lot more ways for us to get even more dupes, and it's going to be a lot easier for us to resonate some of our legendary experts as well. For example, our Clara. So let's take a look at what I would do for her. Now obviously she is a legendary expert, which means that she can get up to 6 divine talents to activate, right? So I think the first one is probably going to be Life Flux. This is quite simple, right? This is very easy to understand. And the next 2 notes would be number 1, Crisis Response. This is a no-brainer. And number 3, Hasty Action. So if there is an ability on cooldown, speed plus 10. And this is where I would generally advise you to stop resonating Clara altogether. Do not waste any more of your mystery traders onto your Clara because everything else here does not make a lot of sense, especially for her kit. I know it might be very tempting for you to push her base HP up a little bit more, but honestly, just trust me on this. This is not going to amount to all that much. So I will just stop at Resonance 3 if I were you, just for the hasty action, and that's about it. But if let's say you still want to continue and fully resonate her for the name card, or I don't know, just to show off or something, then what I might recommend for you is to go on to the defense path, which is usually not so recommended, especially for support espers. So this is going to be your last 3 talents. So the first is going to be Divine Resilience. When attacked by a critical hit, the damage that you take reduces by 2%. Very self-explanatory for a tanky Clara. And next is going to be Vital Life. If HP is below 30%, healing received and shield strength increase by 5%, which is really good because she heals herself based on her max HP, and the shield that she has when she overflows her healing is going to increase by a little bit as well. And then finally, I would choose Wind Guardian, Immobilize Allies, speed plus 5 up to plus 15. This is decent, especially for counter cleaving or stuff like that, right? Just a little bit more speed increase, especially if the enemies take the first turn. Let's say they throw a tricky at the start, AoE stun, everyone goes crazy, but Wind Guardian is going to protect you a little bit. So that's about it for Clara. Let's move on. Now next up, we have Jiangman over here. So okay, so my build is slightly different, but the one that I might recommend to you is, well, different. So I'll start off with my build first, right? So this is a little bit more accuracy, which is self-explanatory as well, crisis response, and hasty action. So the more turns she takes, the more debuffs, or rather the more Nether Bloom procs that she can land, more poisons and all that good stuff, right? Just a lot of stuff from her kit. And then because she's an epic esper, there are only 2 more talents over here. So the first I went for is with Life Blast, which increases her crit rate because her Nether Bloom procs can actually crit. So it's very important for you to build her with crit damage and a lot of crit rate as well. And second, Divine Strike. After casting a non-basic ability, your next skill, which is basically your normal attack, because you only have your 3rd skill and your normal attack, your damage increases by 6%, which is, I guess, okay. Her main damage doesn't come from her normal attack, it comes from her Nether Bloom, but I guess that's fine. However, I would always try to keep these 3 over here. I think these really help her a lot. You may or may not want these 2 nodes over here. Now then, what else is your alternative? Good question. So what I might recommend to you is, if you're using her especially for a farmer, if you do not have a Gaius, she's probably going to be your next best farmer. What I might suggest to you is the first node, Shield Slam. When attacking, if defense is higher than the target's damage plus 2%. So this is really good if your defense is higher than the enemies, which is probably going to be the case, especially in practice stages. And then afterwards, Shimmering Light. So upon killing an enemy, restores HP equal to 5% of your max HP, which is really good for fodder farming. And if you have the question of what fodder farming is, it's just basically leveling up some of your useless espers to upgrade them so that you can upgrade more of your main espers, right? Just rank everything up according to this staircase method, or what some people might call dog walking. Now next is Dhalia. Let's take a look at her resonance. So this is the way I built her, and the reason why I gave her a little bit of crit rate is because I'm currently using some PvP strategy that requires her to crit. If you're not sure what this is all about, go ahead and check out my Ashley PvP video. But anyway, because she's a support, I think the best path for her is probably straight up all the way to hasty action and then detouring back to accurate aim for a little bit of miss rate minus 15%, which is usually quite good, especially if you're trying to land some freezes on, let's say a wind type esper, right? Let's say a tricky for example. Now obviously because she has a stun and a freeze on her kit, then accuracy is a little bit important as well. So targeted constraints is going to be quite useful, especially for PvP, because most players do not run with high resistance, which means that just a little bit of accuracy is going to make a lot of difference for you. Now, before we continue, there is also another path that is quite popular right now, and that is the self-sacrifice path for Dhalia. And this is usually only the case if you're using Dhalia for Kronos. So for example, if your Dhalia has a lot of HP, right? Not my Dhalia has like no HP at all. But if your Dhalia has a lot of HP, especially if you're using the PvP loadout, then when attacking consumes 5% of your max HP and deals through that blah blah blah. Not very important. But the thing is, consuming this 5% of your max HP would force Kronos to use his coffin attack on your Dhalia instead and not hurt any of your other espers around you, which is very important in ensuring that you survive the first hit so that you can deal enough damage to probably secure a very fast run. So this self-sacrifice is actually quite important if you're using her for that one specific purpose. So if you're going to be using the self-sacrifice path, what I might recommend to you is definitely going for targeted constraints, and you have no choice but Law of Conjunction, and then self-sacrifice. And then for the rest of your 2 points, I would then recommend you to go Crisis Response, and finally Hasty Action. So you're going to forgo a little bit of the accurate aim over here, but I think that's still fine. Now, because we still have some extra time, let's just have an extra bonus Esper to talk about. So this is going to be the first rare Esper for the day. It's going to be Baron Nikki. So this is the way I built her. So what I did is a little bit more accuracy because she has AP control, she has defense breaks as well. So this is really, I guess, quite important. And Crisis Response, and then Hasty Action. This is very straightforward, right? So most of the supports are either going to go for targeted constraints, or they're going to start off with Life Flux. But they're always going to end with Hasty Action. I think this is one of the best talents out there. Now, as for your fourth and final talent, I decided to go with Law of Conjunction, which is whenever I grant a buff, I will then heal myself equal to 1% of my max HP. So if I use my third skill, which grants me 2 buffs, right? It grants me a regeneration buff and a shield buff as well. I will then heal myself upwards of 3% max HP because I'm buffing my entire team. But it really doesn't hurt to go with accurate aim, especially if you're using her against Inferno type espers for whatever reason, right? Maybe you're using her for PvP, I don't know. But if so, then accurate aim is pretty decent. And if you're wondering whether is this protective shield good for her because she buffs the allies with shield buff, right? The answer is probably going to be no. This shield strength increment is only 8%. It is not that much. And if you're also wondering whether does self-sacrifice go crazy on her because she multi-hits, the answer is no. So you can only deal 1 proc of true damage every time self-sacrifice proc. So if you're triple hitting with her normal attack, or let's say her second skill, this is only going to trigger once. So don't think that you're going to be dealing a whole ton of damage. And that is basically it for all these 4 espers. So we have talked about Baroness, we have talked about Dhalia, we have talked about Jiangman, and finally we have also talked about Clara at the start, right? But anyway, hope this video helps you. Feel free to leave a comment down below on who are the other espers that you want to see, and I would definitely find the time to give you a little bit of a showcase based on whatever that I'm doing with my espers. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Dari Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.